Alright guys, another day, another video. Just going to talk about some recruiting, talk about the Florida Gators. Mainly want to bring up Jaden Rashada today with his recruitment coming down the pipeline this weekend. Kid's going to announce this weekend, I believe Saturday. I believe, again, I'm going to pick the good guys on this one. I think he'll be a Florida Gator in the end. I do believe we have put up the money for NIL. He's taking pictures with a Lambo in the swamp. Hadcock's got the car out there, the multi-millionaire, billionaire Florida Gator booster, putting the car out, showing out for the Florida Gators. I do think the kid is highly interested and likes the fact that Billy Napier's the quarterback coach and the head coach and very, very intimately involved with his QBs. So look for that. I do think he'll commit to us. Basically, we're right there in the thick of it with Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and some other schools. He's not taking the visit to Miami, so Cane fans can stick it on that one because they talking a bunch of crap, thinking he was going to come there, and then making all the excuses in the world why Miami moved on. He's just not interested in that school. He don't want 12 people at his football game. Anyway, Miami's got Ruiz putting money out there and stuff. This guy down in South Florida, they've been putting up some hellacious NIL deals, which I believe is ruining college football as we know it. We're overpaying for this kid, even if we get him. But I love the fact that he's a good kid, got a good head on his shoulders. He's got a good family. His dad seems very high on Florida, speaks very highly of Billy Napier and the staff. Apparently, they rolled out the red carpet for this kid last week. He's been to Florida twice in a couple months. We weren't even in his top 7 just like 4 months ago, and then he drops us in the top 2, top 3. Um, Miami's quarterback situation, they've got their guy next year. For the next couple years, Van Dyke and another younger guy. I think they're targeting Emory. Um, Texas A&M's quarterback situation, they've got several on the roster. They got Wegman. So they're set at quarterback. The numbers don't look good for him to go to the other schools because they're all stacked at quarterback. Ole Miss has got 7 on the roster again. So our quarterback situation is way more enticing than these other schools. Plus, you add that with Napier being the quarterback coach, the NIL money. AR-15 was his chaperone and his host on his visit this past week. And that kid's got a lot of charisma, so I believe the visit went really well. Spoke really highly about the visit, like I said. So I think we're going to get our quarterback in this class, guys. I believe he will finish a 5-star when it's all said and done. They did drop him a couple spots in the rankings, so he's borderline. But when it's finished, they have 38 5-stars, so he will finish a 5-star. He just went to a camp recently and showed out. Was one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback at the camp. But you know how the Gators always get done. We get a guy that's about to commit or commits to Florida, and they always drop his ranking. It's a Gator bias out there. I mean, it's been known for years. Then Gators recruiting that when we get a kid, his ranking usually drops a few spots. But there's no denying this kid's ability. This would be the greatest quarterback pickup we've had since Will Greer, Tim Tebow, guys like that. The ranking wise. He blows them. He blows some of these guys we've gotten in recent history out of the water. He's more highly ranked than Emory Jones was. This kid's a special talent. He's one of those that's a 50-50 shot to go to the NFL with the type of ranking he's got. A lot of other kids have been on campus. Derek LeBlanc, Jordan Hall, some defensive linemen, offensive linemen. I talked about that, a couple weeks ago. We've gotten so many prospects, too many to even name and count on campus. I think this is going to be one of the best offensive line classes that Florida's had in many, many years. No more Hevesy specials and garbage 8-3, low 3-star recruits. We got some mid-level 3-stars, but I think a lot of our offensive line recruits are going to finish as 4-stars. One thing I wanted to talk about, I listen to a lot of shows and podcasts that do a lot of analysis and breakdown on recruiting. And there's an insider on one of the message boards out there. I'm not going to name his name or anything like that, but I believe this guy to be one of the staff members at Florida, has inside information. Everything he's put out about Florida has been 100% spot on. And he basically just come out on the board the other day and said that, you guys sit back and relax, grab your drink and your popcorn and get ready because Jaden committed. Rashada's about to commit to the Gators this weekend. He's a lock. So if I got to eat my crow, I eat my crow. But this kid is a Gator. And I believe when he commits to Florida, it's going to be a domino effect. And by August, we're going to have half this class full of blue chip, 5 4-star players. It's going to be awesome, guys. I mean, the army that Napier's built is about to produce big time, and all the haters can go away because it's about to get real in Gainesville, guys. But yeah, so moving on to the next thing, analysis of recruiting. The reason this class is so important, I do believe this class has to finish top 3 in the SEC. We'll probably finish third behind Georgia and Alabama. It's going to be hard to beat those guys. If we can somehow sneak in the top 2 and beat them out, that would be absolutely amazing. And Billy Napier's first bump class, this is the most important recruiting class of his tenure at Florida. These classes, the bump class, which is the first true class for a coach, is the most important class to establish that floor and the talent to produce a national championship. Um, the data says if by year 3 most coaches don't win, they don't win at all. In the last 20 years, that's been the case. The only outlier is an Auburn with a elite transcendent talent like a Cam Newton or Clemson with the transcendent quarterbacks that they've had. The reason people like to compare, say, oh, you can get it done with top 10 classes because of that one championship for Auburn and that one with the few that Clemson have had. Well, here's the thing, guys. The SEC and ACC don't stack up. They don't compare recruiting. Recruiting is much more elite in the SEC. You look at national rankings, and the SEC teams are loaded and filled with the top 25. The top 25 is filled with SEC schools. Um, so the talent is elite. So you have to produce a top 5, top 3 nationally recruited class year in and year out to win a national title in college football, especially in the SEC, because usually the playoff teams are going to come from the SEC. You've got to get to that SEC championship game, and those 2 teams that get there have the number 1 or number 2, maybe number 3 recruiting class nationally. So you're competing with that a top 2 class for the first and second place team in the SEC. So that's why a number 3 or number 4 class just doesn't get it done. Without the elite quarterback. So that's why Jaden is so important to this class. If we can get a kid like him, I'm not saying he's going to produce. I'm not saying he's going to be an NFL quarterback, but he has the potential. You have to get those kind of players with that kind of talent in order to get to the top and win against elite competition. That's how Georgia's been able to do it the last few years. That's how they've been there every year knocking on the door and finally got it done. As much as we hate them, it took them back from 1980 to finally get a national title, and now they think they've done something because they won their second one. I don't see Georgia repeating. I just don't. They always blow their quarterback situation, and that was an outlier. They got lucky. He had so much elite talent around him is why they were able to get it done. But that just proves the point of how much recruiting matters in the SEC. It's just different. It's just different, y'all. The SEC is just another level. But yeah, I think we're set at running back. Trayon Webb committing the end of this month. I believe we'll find another blue chipper like Baxter, somebody in the class eventually. Kamani McLean just transferred to Lakeland High School, which is a Gator pipeline. And Ahmad Black is the defensive back coach there. He's a huge, loves his Florida Gators. Y'all know he's a legend at Florida. He's going to be pushing Florida. Kamani, he's the number 1 cornerback in the nation, 5-star recruit. He is the gem of this class. He's actually even a bigger recruit and more important than Jada Rashada. He's the kind of player that players are going to flock to and want to play with. So picking him up, I think he's a Gator lock as well. He does really like Alabama, and you can't discount Nick Saban. He's a legend with DBs. He's a legendary coach. But I do think Billy gets it done, and we do get Kamani McLean from Lakeland. I do believe he'll be in the class, and that is going to be the thing that catapults us to the top, is getting kids like that. First year bump class, we need about 3 to 5 stars. Rashad is going to be one of them. Kamani McLean, that's 2. If we can just pull 1, maybe 2 more in there, and then fill it with the rest, top 100, top 150, and the bottom of the class needs to be those low tier 4 stars, 300 to 500 range, on the high 3-star side. We don't need, we don't need several players outside of that top 500, guys. Most of our players are 500th or better ranking in the nation. So I like where the bottom of this class is so far, and I like the way we're trending. We're trending for a lot of blue chip guys. He's built an army, man. I mean, these guys are killing it out there. I can't even Pura Shear. I can't can't remember how to pronounce his name, but his assistant, Billy Napier's assistant, he's been out there killing it, playing Xbox with the kids. Kids really like that kind of stuff, playing games online and stuff these days, interacting with them. Even when it's non-contact, they're still allowed to do stuff like that. Um, the only suspect recruiting we've had so far is linebacker with Peterson, Bateman. Not really sure what's going on there, but I mean it's been a ghost town. We no linebacker targets, maybe one or two. That's a little disappointing, but I think we're okay at linebacker on the current roster right now. I'm not too worried about that. We can kind of get circled back in the transfer portal in the next class, but right now we are loaded with talent as far as targets go on the defensive line, O line, DB stacked. We got some nice wide receiver targets with Aiden Mizell, who I also think is going to pick the Gators. And he's a huge prospect. He's a transcendent wide receiver talent, in my opinion. He could end up a 5-star or close to it. I think he's underrated and underranked. On3 is now averaged into the recruiting rankings. They're a little lower on a lot of guys. They seem to be a little lower on the ranking side for a lot of prospects, where the other sites are a little higher. I don't know. I think that'll work itself out. They'll adjust it eventually, but they seem to be a little off on their evaluations. They got some work to do on their evals, but overall, I like that On3's in there. I think they need to take ESPN out. ESPN's a joke. It's just a name. Their high school recruiting and college recruiting rankings are absolute trash. They literally just look at a name, and I think they look at the other three sites and say, oh, okay, the kid's a 4-star. They need to take ESPN out, put On3 in, and I think we're going to get a much more accurate and unbiased ranking system for the Gators, and then just teams overall. So, another thing now too that we got to look at with NIL, with these kids is not making mistakes and getting ourselves put on probation. And so, be patient. Napier's trying to do things with integrity and do it the right way. I know we all want results right now, ASAP. We're an instant gratification society. But again, there's taxes involved with this stuff. The economy's on shaky footing right now. So they've got to be careful with the way they do this stuff and roll it all out. You don't want to overpay and then underfund the football program, or spend money that we don't have to allocate to resources somewhere else. We've got to take care of the guys that are current on the roster. I think that's the way NIL is going to work at Florida, is once you get on campus, that's when you start getting your money. So they're trying to let you know that, like, it's not an upfront thing. It's like you got to get on campus, enroll in classes, and actually produce and contribute to the football team first before you start seeing those profits roll in. A lot of guys, apparently, there's a misconception out there that Florida's not willing to spend the money. That is not the case. Florida has the money. We have the boosters. You've got the Gator Collective that's taking care of current players, and the Gator Guard, who's putting up the big millions of dollars payouts for these kids. The Gator Guard's more for the wealthy boosters to contribute to. Gator Collective is online, and you can contribute to that monthly for even a small amount, like $10 a month. I just hate that they're asking for these fans like myself and y'all to give money to something when gas is $5 a gallon. It just doesn't feel right to me. I'm not a big fan of that. If you want to donate to your university or to these kids, that's fine. But I feel like I want something guaranteed in return for that, more than what they're offering right now. I just don't think it's worth it as a fan. But anyways, guys, just want to get some of that news and information out there. Go Gators. Next video, we're going to start breaking down the schedule and future opponents. Thank you.